ሶስተኛው የኢትዮ ዩናይትድ ኪንግደም የንግድና ኢንቨስትመንት ፎረም ለንደን በሚገኘው የኢትዮጵያ ኤምባሲ በተሳካ ሁኔታ ተከናውኗል። ላለፉት 2 ዓመታት በሰሜን ኢትዮጵያ በተፈጠረው ግጭት ምክንያት ተቀዛቅዞ የነበረውን የኢትዮ ዩናይትድ ኪንግደም የንግድና ኢንቨስትመንት ግንኙነት ተመልሶ እንዲያንሰራራና በደቡብ አፍሪካም የተካሄደው የሰላም ስምምነት ይህን ግንኙነት መልሶ ለማደስ ምቹ አጋጣሚ በፈጠረበት ወቅት የተካሄደ መድረክ በመሆኑ ከፍተኛ መነቃቃትን የፈጠረ ነበር።
እንደ አጋጣሚ ሆኖ የዛሬው ኢትዮ ዩኬ ቢዝነስ ፎረም በለንደን የሚካሄደው እኛም እንደ አጋጣሚ እድለኞች ነን ማለት ነው የምፈልገው። ምክንያቱም በትናንትናው ዕለት የተደረገው ስምምነት ደቡብ አፍሪካ ላይ ቢዝነሱን ትንሽ የመቀዛቀዝ ነገር ነበረ። ይሄ የፎሪን ከረንሲ ችግር የሀገሪቱ የጦርነት ላይ በመሆኗ ምክንያት ቢዝነሱን ትንሽ ያዝ የማድረግ ነገር ነበረ። ምክንያቱም ብዙ ወጪዎች እንደሚታወቀው በጀትን ሁሉ እስከሚነካበት ድረስና ሁሉም ኢትዮጵያውያን ወንድምና ወንድም ቢሆንም የተሳተፈበት ስለሆነ ቢዝነሱን ጎርቶት ነበር። አጠቃላይ በሀገሪቱ ላይ ያሉ የስራ እንቅስቃሴዎች የመዳከም ነገር ነበረ። አሁን ግን በጣም ጥሩ ይሆናል። ወደፊት እንደውም ሰርተን ማንጨርሰው ብዙ የስራ እድሎች ይኖራሉ። ያ የተቀዛቀዘው ነገር በጣም ጥሩ ይሆናል የሚል ግምት ነው ያለ። ግምት ሳይሆን እውነታ ነው። በቃ ይሄ ያለ ነገር ስለሆነ ትንሽ የመቀዛቀዝ ነገር ነበረ። የማቴሪያል እጥረት፣ የዋጋ ንረት፣ የእቃ መጨመር ስራውን በደንብ አሁን ዘንድሮ ያስከውን ስራ ለአንድ አመት ሰርተ ለማጠናቀቅ እቃው በ100%፣ በ200፣ በ1000% ሁሉ የዋጋ ንረት የሚጨምርበት ነገር ነበረ። እዚህም አሁን ለንደን ላይ በመሳተፍበት ስብሰባ ያየሁት ምንድን ነው የዛሬው ስብሰባ ቢዝነስ ፎረም ብቻ ሳይሆን ዲፕሎማሲም ያለ ይመስላል። ሁሉም እያቀነቀነ ያለው ኢትዮጵያና ከዚህ በፊት እንትን የነበረው የሰላም እጦት በዲፕሎማሲ መልኩ ስምምነት በመደረሱ ለአገሪቱ ለየትኛውም ዘርፍ እንቅስቃሴ መንገድ ከፋች ነውና ጥሩ ነው ብዬ ነው የማስበው። ውጭ ሆነ ስታየውና ሀገር ውስጥ ሆነ ስታየው በጣም ይለያያል። ዲፕሎማሲው የተረዳ ነው ማለት ነው። ምክንያቱም ይመስለኛል ነጮቹ ዲፕሎማሲውን ሴኩሪቲውን ቅድሚያ የሚሰጡበትን አጋጣሚ ያየሁት። እኛ ድንገት ምንም አይመስለን ይችላል እዛ ሆነ እዚህ ሆነ የምታየው ነገር ግን በጣም ጠንከር ያለና ስትሮንግ ነው። ይሄ በጣም እኔ በመሳተፌም ደስ ብሎኛል። እንደገና ደግሞ ያየሁትም ነገር ብዙ ነገር ግንዛቤ እንዳይና እንደወስድ አድርጎኛል ማለት ነው።
You know, we've heard from many of our Ethiopian staff how much this was stressful for them. This was stressful for the country, it was stressful for people, etc. So I was delighted when I heard in the press that a peace agreement was being formed and that peace would therefore come back, because at the end of the day what you want is people to be able to enjoy their lives, and so it's really good news.
I'm so happy this morning to hear the news about peace in Ethiopia. I appreciate it's been a very long journey and a long road, and I appreciate this is only the first step, but it is fantastic news for everybody that there is a new future and a new road, and harmony is returning to Ethiopia. So I'm really happy. We have suffered obviously with COVID. We've suffered with problems in the global supply chains, with energy, with shipping, with war in Ukraine. But this first step is the first indicator that Ethiopia is returning back, and we are then able to begin to develop our business further in Ethiopia. We currently make leather, we make gloves, we make shoes, we make leather goods, and we make garments.
It is, I see it in a very positive way. I thank the participants, and I also thank the Lord God, the God of Ethiopia, the God of Israel, who help us, to get this kind of resolution. For me as a business person, I am very much excited, and I look forward for the positive aspects that the country can offer right now without war. Even during war, we survived it. We have gone through that path, and now I can imagine how tremendously the country can grow without any kind of this kind of wars and conflict. So I am very happy, I'm very excited. I look forward a very positive future. I look forward a very encouraging and positive future.
በዩናይትድ ኪንግደም የውጭና ዓለም አቀፍ ትብብር መስሪያ ቤትን ጨምሮ የዩናይትድ ኪንግደም የቀድሞ የአፍሪካ ጉዳዮች ሚኒስትርም የፓርላማ አባላት ባለሀብቶች እንዲሁም ከኢትዮጵያ በተመሳሳይ የተጋበዙ የንግድና ቀጠናዊ ትስስር ሚኒስትር የውጭ ጉዳይ ሚኒስቴር የማዕድን ሚኒስቴርና የፋርማሲውቲካል የኮንስትራክሽን የብረታ ብረትና በወጪና ገቢ ንግድ ላይ የተሰማሩ ባለሀብቶች ተገኝተዋል። ለንደን የሚገኘው የኢትዮጵያ ኤምባሲም ከዋፋ ፕሮሞሽን ጋር በመተባበር ያዘጋጀው ፎረም በኢትዮጵያ ያሉ ምቹ ኢንቨስትመንት እድሎችን በኢትዮጵያም በኢንቨስትመንት ላይ የተሰማሩ የዩናይትድ ኪንግደም ባለሀብቶች ያላቸውን ተሞክሮና አዳዲስ የኢንቨስትመንት ማበረታቻዎች ላይ ዝርዝር ጉዳዮች ቀርበዋል። በዩናይትድ ኪንግደም የኢትዮጵያ ኤምባሲ የሚስዮን ምክትል መሪ አቶ በየነ ገብረ መስቀል በፎረሙ ላይ እንደተናገሩት የደቡብ አፍሪካው የሰላም ስምምነት በዩናይትድ ኪንግደም ባለሀብቶች በኢትዮጵያ ኢንቨስትመንት ላይ ለመሰማራት የነበራቸውን ቀዝቃዛ ፍላጎት እንዲያንሰራራ የሚያግዝ ነው ብለዋል።
First and foremost, I would like to congratulate us all on the peace deal our government has made to end hostility in the north and lay down the fundamentals for future reconstruction, development, internal cohesion, and assuring the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ethiopia. This breaking news should break the hesitation of some UK and international companies to invest in Ethiopia.
በዩናይትድ ኪንግደም የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ባለስልጣን አምባሳደር ተፈሪ መለሰ ባደረጉት የመክፈቻ ንግግርም በሀገሬ የሰላምና የጸጥታ ሁኔታ ላይ ወሳኝ የሆነ የሰላም ስምምነት መካሄዱም ይህ ፎረም የሚፈልገውና የተሻለች ኢትዮጵያን ለመገንባትና ወደ ብልጽግና ለማምራት መሰረቱ ይበልጥ ተረጋግጦ የሚቀጥልበት አጋጣሚ ነው ብለዋል።
I would also like to share an important development in our peace and security situation in my country. The conflict in the northern part of Ethiopia is resolved peacefully through negotiation in South Africa, and agreement is signed yesterday. So we have closed that chapter, and this is a good news for our event today, which will give us trust and confidence to move on to partner with each other. We are having this event at a time when global, economic, political, and environmental uncertainties and associated difficulties prevail. We are undergoing through the heavy tolls of COVID, climate change, impacts, war, and its economic fallout. As such, it may seem to some this event is probably untimely. I and my team fully disagree to this from 4 fundamental points. Firstly, Ethiopia has an incredible and diversified human and natural resources to be put to use to improve the lives of its people and augment returns for the investing communities. Secondly, London and the UK remain Europe's leading destination for investment in financial services and remain the world's leading networked hubs for markets, partnership, and capacity development. The UK is one of the dominant and well-networked hubs for investment, market partnerships, and the like. Thirdly, the fast growth track record Ethiopia has witnessed, backed by strong economic fundamentals, even under such difficult times, only testify the correctness of decisions to invest and trade. Fourthly, the future is assured and improved by bold and productive decisions of governments and the private sectors at such initial time, where most African countries, including Ethiopia, are working to realize the full potentials of the African Free Trade Area Agreement entered into force in January 2021. Ethiopia, as the second populous country in Africa with more than 115 million people, has most promising commercial opportunities in agriculture, agro-processing, infrastructure, energy, aviation, healthcare, and tourism sectors.
የንግድና የቀጠናዊ ትስስር ሚኒስትር አቶ ገብረ መስቀል ጫላ በበኩላቸው በዩናይትድ ኪንግደምና በኢትዮጵያ መካከል የቆየው ታሪካዊ ግንኙነት ሁለቱን ህዝቦች ይበልጥ ተጠቃሚ እንዲያደርግ የንግድና ኢንቨስትመንት ግንኙነት አሁን ካለበት ይበልጥ ተጠናክሮ ማደግ ይጠበቅበታል ብለዋል።
The two countries collaborate on a number of issues of common concern, forming a sound basis for the relations at the bilateral, regional, and the global levels. At the regional level, both countries aspire to see a stable and a secure environment in the Horn of Africa. Both are keenly aware of the importance of working together to ensure peace and stability in the region. The trade volumes between the two countries in the last 5 years are in favor of United Kingdom. The total trade turnover between the two countries in the last 5 years, that means 2016 to 2020, was 1.6 billion USD. The highest trade exchange was made in 2018 with 510 million USD, and the lowest trade turnover was in 2017, amounted 247 million USD. The Ethiopia's average annual export and import trade value constitute about 45 million USD and 247 million USD respectively. It indicates the highest trade balance gap between the two countries. In this regard, increasing the export volume and the diversity of products to UK should be given utmost priority to narrow the trade gap.
የኢትዮጵያን ምቹ ኢንቨስትመንት እድሎችና ያሉ አዳዲስ መሰረታዊ ማበረታቻዎችን በማዕድንና በታዳሽ ኃይል ኢንቨስትመንት በአይሲቲም በፋርማሲውቲካልና የሕክምና መሳሪያዎች አቅርቦት እንዲሁም በንግድና መሰረተ ልማት ኢንቨስትመንት ላይ ከኢትዮጵያ የውጭ ጉዳይ ሚኒስቴር፣ የማዕድን ሚኒስቴር፣ ከንግድና ቀጠናዊ ትስስር ሚኒስቴርም ከግሉ ባለሀብት የተውጣጡ ባለሙያዎች ዝርዝር አማራጮችን አቅርበዋል። የኢትዮጵያን ምቹ ኢንቨስትመንት እድሎች በተመለከተም ከውጭ ጉዳይ ሚኒስቴር ሚኒስትር ካውንስለር ደሴ አለባቸው በዝርዝር መረጃውን አቅርበዋል። ውይይቱን የመሩት ሎረንስ ሮበርትሰን የፓርላማ አባልና የሁሉም ፓርቲዎች ፓርላሜንታዊ ቡድን የኢትዮጵያና የጅቡቲ ሊቀመንበር ናቸው።
I just want to say how welcome last night's news really was, and I hope we can build on it and move forward. And by way of analogy, it's always something I discourage of we in the West telling everybody else how to live, because we've also had our own problems. You will be aware of the difficulties we had for very many years here in the United Kingdom in Northern Ireland. But I would just say that during the worst of the troubles in Northern Ireland, that area suffered very high unemployment, it suffered deprivation and very many great difficulties because of that conflict. And now, when we have the relative peace in Northern Ireland, it's an area which enjoys growth and greater prosperity and great prospects. And that's the difference that peace brings. So I really do hope that in Ethiopia we can build on the announcement that was made last night and move towards a very peaceful future, because that is the way to prosperity and that is the way to unlocking opportunities. And I've spoken to a number of businesses myself who are waiting to invest in Ethiopia, and they really want to do that, but they have held back because of what has been happening. So I now hope that we can move forward and that those companies can really look to renew their involvement and increase their involvement, or maybe even begin an involvement in Ethiopia. So I very much look forward to playing my part in encouraging them to do that. So it's a great pleasure to be here. We have two speakers on the platform with us. I'll come to Reg Hankey of Pittards in a few minutes. Other to say that I've had the pleasure of visiting Pittards in Ethiopia, certainly at one of the branches, very impressive though it was. But we're going to start with Desi Alabekciu, who is, I've got my notes here in a mix-up somewhere, is the Councillor of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia.
Most of the investors, foreign investors, say that doing business in Ethiopia is very difficult. Now the government is working to its business constraints and to make easy business in Ethiopia. The other one addressing sector-specific, institutional and market failures. This is the main thing, and this all brings building confidence and balancing growth and enhancing productivity. This all will impact on job creation in Ethiopia, inclusive growth for the country, poverty reduction, and creating path to prosperity.
የፒታርድስ ዋና ስራ አስፈጻሚ ሪክ ሃንኪ በበኩላቸው በኢትዮጵያ ኢንቨስትመንት ላይ ከተሰማሩም በርካታ ዓመታትን መቆየታቸውን ገልጸው ኢትዮጵያም በተለያዩ ውጣ ውረዶች ስታልፍ አብረው ጸንተው የቆዩ የዩናይትድ ኪንግደም ባለሀብት መሆናቸውን ገልጸዋል።
And you see the troubles it causes, you see the economic fallout, and what we witnessed in our country, I have witnessed in Ethiopia. So the breakthrough last night, I fully understand how hard it is to get two strong, proud people at different extremes to come together and decide what they're going to compromise. So I would like to say formally thank you. I'd like everyone to say thank you. I do note that the comment last night was this is only the start of the process. So it's not a slam dunk, it's not a done deal, but the first steps are the most important ones. And it's important for the investment community to support it. It has been a problem. And in order for me to, I haven't prepared a presentation, I thought it's easier to just talk to you. If there's any questions, I'll also take any questions from you. But I think in order to discuss where we are, we have to consider the global situation that we are in. Because we tend to always talk in isolation, so it's Ethiopia or it's... So where are we now? Well, there are 2 or 3 messages, I think. One would be for UK government staff. Aid is really, really important. For a country like Ethiopia and other countries, of course, aid and support. Water, health, education, famine challenges, of course we have to do that. But, the road out of poverty that you mentioned is not about aid for the next 50 years. It's about economic development of the country. And for that we need educated people. And you go to Ethiopia, more of our staff have got degrees in Ethiopia than they have in the UK. There's a very high level of qualification, of commitment, of hand skills in Ethiopia. There's a very large proportion of young people who want to work and want to have families and houses and all of those, the drives are there. But you can't do that if you don't have the opportunity. So our job and other investors' job is to provide the opportunity and the development cycle. Sometimes the UK government strategy is not as goal-aligned to that as perhaps it could be. So we have to do support for the basics, but we have to do effective support to enable the development of businesses. I stand in front of you because we make leather. Well, what's leather? It's only that little bit of stuff that we buy occasionally. But in the scheme of a developing country, when you look at most developing countries have been agricultural based. When you want to go through the industrial revolution, which Ethiopia is going through, you want the basic trades. You want textiles, you want leather, you want shoes, you want garments. It employs people, it's skills. You don't need to build rockets to go to the moon as the first step. You need our type of industry. And you're quite right when you go, these are priority areas, agriculture, textiles, leather, whatever.
በታዳሽ ኃይልና በማዕድን ዘርፍ ኢንቨስትመንት ላይ ያሉ ምቹ ዕድሎችን በዝርዝር ያቀረቡት ዶክተር ሶፊያ አብዱልቃድር በማዕድን ሚኒስቴር የማዕድንና ነዳጅ ፈቃድና አስተዳደር ቡድን መሪ ናቸው።
Oil and gas potential of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has oil and gas. We also estimated and have drilled well but we not transfer to production. And what is the host rock of this oil and gas? When we see we have, or Ethiopia has many basins for hosting petroleum, oil and gas, like Ogaden Basin, Makale Basin, Abai Basin, Gambela Basin, Southern Basin, or Rift Basin. Today, mainly we are engaging in Ogaden Basin, and many estimated wells exist. More than 30% of sedimentary rocks in Ethiopia are expected to carry petroleum. More than 71 wells are drilled for 2 to 5 meters deep, and the discovery are mainly until now are in Ogaden Basin. Ogaden Basin are the resource also estimated. In this Ogaden Basin, we have geophysical and geochemical data. Any who interested in this part of resource or oil and gas, we have data calculated. Resource are also available.
በኢትዮጵያም የማዕድን ምርት ፍለጋ ላይ የተሰማራው ኬፊ ሚነራልስ ዳይሬክተር ኤዲ ሶልብራንስ በበኩላቸው እንደተናገሩት
We've secured 2 good financiers now, and that's been an incredibly difficult journey. As you can imagine, banks are lending to a country that up until recently was in civil war. Has been difficult, but we've got committed bankers in TDB and AFC. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. That hill there is actually Tulukapi. It's the center of where our gold mine will be. It's the only ready-to-start industrial-scale mining project in Ethiopia. The history has the region has a long history of gold mining. It's been mined there for thousands of years, mainly alluvial and other types of mining, but not on a bulk scale. We had to do a lot of work to get the project to where it is today, and we decided on Ethiopia for a number of reasons. One is it is, as was previously mentioned, the highest, one of the highest growth countries in Africa, and it will continue to be. It's a democratic country. There's rule of law. They have good institutions, and for us, important was power and water, and reasonable infrastructure. We have commitments from the government to take power to our mine site. They're putting in 47 kilometres of power. We're just working with the local community to take the first 11 families off their properties and recompense them for that. To put this into scale, there'll be 1,500 people that we have to relocate out of the mine licensing area. We do that in phases as we need pieces of land. We'll be building an airstrip. We've also built schools in the area. We've got some community projects going with growing coffee. We've got a nursery there, and we're looking at a few other projects for sustainability.
በአይሲቲም በፋርማሲውቲካልና ሕክምና መሳሪያ አቅርቦት ላይ ተሞክሯቸውን ያካፈሉት ከውዳሴ ዳያግኖስቲክ ማዕከል አቶ ዳዊት ኃይሉ ናቸው። የጎል ግሩፕ ዋና ስራ አስፈጻሚ ጎሊድ ኢብራሂም ውይይቱን መርተዋል።
From birth report, and it's been tremendous. The level of development every single time pleasantly surprises me. Agriculture, infrastructure, the airport, the roads, tourism, hotels, and hospitality is definitely one. the first time I came to the embassy here, I put my hand out to shake the ambassador's hand, and he pulled me across to give me a hug. So that's hospitality in Ethiopia.
Well, there are so many opportunities. As you know, health is there's a big gap in the healthcare system. The gap came from the fact that our economy is growing in a double digits every year, which means the people who used to ignore their health now are very much aware, and they are investing on the health. And the other reason is we are importing 85% of our pharmaceutical needs from abroad. So if the economy is growing, and if we are still dependent on imported medical and pharmaceuticals, you can clearly see there's a big gap in the healthcare. When we convert this into finance and money, we're talking about $15 billion project. So this by itself is, first of all, it's a big opportunity for any kind of pharmaceuticals manufacturers who are interested to come to Africa, particularly to Ethiopia, and invade the Ethiopian market. And that will give them an opportunity to expand their market outside Ethiopia, and even in the neighboring countries, which will be accounted around $20 billion worth of business. So on one side, it's a big gap. There is a big gap. On the other side, there is a big opportunity. So we are here. The main purpose of our visit is to invite investors to come and invest their capital in the healthcare, and of course benefit themselves as well as benefit the country and the people of Ethiopia.
በኢትዮጵያም ቴሌኮም ዘርፍ የሳፋሪኮም ግሩፕ የሆነው ቮዳፎን አማካሪ ዳይሬክተር ፊሊፕ ቮግለር በበኩላቸው
There are medical outposts in Ethiopia pretty much everywhere. So I don't remember the exact number, but if you can digitize these type of things, you bring immediately enormous value to a series of other industries that would otherwise not have access to those populations because distances are too much. Then you get the entire manufacturing, and it goes from extractives to like we heard mining to plants, etc. A lot of what we discuss with foreign investors is that not having access to modern monitoring systems, for instance. You can't do in real life monitoring of your plants from abroad is an issue, and you can see this on as soon as there was the civil war hit. A number of investors stopped their activity just because they couldn't monitor what was going on. So again, having guaranteed, it's not just about having telecoms 50% of the time or even 95% of the time. It's having access to all the time present stuff will modify that and therefore push investment. And then you go to the next one, which will probably be tourism. One of the things that I find fascinating in Ethiopia is obviously that when people move around, you have these fantastic plains, but there is no link between the planes and what you will do. So if you could give information, but also give access to how people are going to tour around, etc., it makes a huge difference. And then, of course, we finish with the most important transformation factor of all, which is access to money. I still remember a certain dinner we did with all the investors, very posh Italian restaurant in Addis, but you could only pay in cash. So one of my guys had to bring literally a suitcase of cash because banknotes are very small in Addis. So the point is, mobile money will make a huge transformation. In every country where we go, your average farmer who uses mobile money makes 30% more. So if you are a very agricultural land, if you can improve the lives of all these farmers, make them cooperate better, make them sell better, make them all that. So all the DFS side is going to be enormous. And to be frank, a number of smaller companies have tried. Thanks God for me, none of them have tried our model so far. So what we will bring when our mobile money is active It's completely unique. It's going to be the same as what you find in Tanzania, in Kenya, etc., which is guaranteed. Again, the key is you don't want to lose your money. If you don't have that much money, you really want to keep that money. We come bottom up, so we tackle the poorest layers of the population and we make sure that their money is super safe. That usually drives them to invest, to create micro enterprise, etc. That's what we see in all the other countries. You know, you move from basic payment to today in Kenya, you can't pay your taxi or your bus without mobile money anymore. It just, the practical idea of having physical cash makes no sense. So all that will be where it will change a lot, which is we've heard very, very well the macro plan of the country, so the macroeconomic transformation plan, and also the digital plan. And exactly as you say, sir, it's not about bringing city people to have 4G to 5G. It's about bringing everybody together. So that's why we met all these people. We've conducted 22,000 interviews, if I remember well, just to understand what people wanted in all regions. And interestingly enough, people don't really want the same thing, you know, because in the past, as in many African countries, services were not the same depending on regions. Cities tend to be favored, rural a bit less. So we're doing it the other way around. All the launches we've done regionally offer exactly the same services as what you would get. It's not 2G, 3G, then 4G. It's actually the other way around. We build everything based on 4G and 5G, and then we do a transport layer on 2G on top of it. But what we really want to have is advanced telecom services access for everybody. So that's the first thing. Then you go into, do we have specialized services? Yes, we have one of our divisions called Mezzanine. I can happily introduce you to them, which is specialized into platform services for the likes of farmers, so smallholders. And essentially, it's a revenue share type of thing. So you get access to the service. If it brings you additional revenues, then you pay us a cut of these revenues. The average farmer that uses this service, I think we have something like 50 million farmers on this thing in different countries, and the average farmer will make between 30 and 40% more money than their peer who doesn't digitize. So there is a huge potential there. 78%, if I remember well, of the population in Ethiopia works in farming or farming-related things. All these people, we hope we will change their lives. That's why in our bid we mentioned very seriously that we think that our activity over 10 years will create between 1 million and 1.5 million jobs, because all these sectors will be modified.
የቀድሞው የአፍሪካ ጉዳዮች ሚኒስትር ሎርድ ሄንሪ ቤኒንግሃም በንግድና መሰረተ ልማት ኢንቨስትመንት ላይ ውይይቱን መርተዋል።
And also the other challenges in the whole of Africa that obviously are impacting on the region more generally. But I do believe that those countries that are able to get in place a degree of stability nationally alongside a fair amount of predictability and transparency, those are the countries that are going to be able to help set a really good example and build more regional stability. And I think Ethiopia, given its size, given the huge depth of experience within the civil service, given the wealth of business entrepreneurship as well in that country, I think that Ethiopia is really, really well placed to do that. And I think that there's an opportunity at this particular point to make the correct and right moves. But I really do stress that the businesses that I speak to around Africa, it is pretty competitive out there. And you may feel you've got exactly the right mining project or the right geothermal project or the right telecoms tech project in a particular country or region. But if you don't have the confidence to make those investments, if it's not a bankable project because of the lack of transparency or stability, or there's too much political uncertainty, then those businesses will go elsewhere, because Africa is a very big place with massive, massive opportunities. So my message really is it's incredibly competitive out there. And I think ministers are doing a phenomenal job. And I think building that expertise and that knowledge base within the civil service is so important for businesses that are investing. And I think if Ethiopia can really get the message out there that is a country to do business, it's a leader in the region, and it's got the critical mass that other countries haven't got, then I think you really will be able to go from, you'll be able to get over these latest crises that have taken place, not just in your country but in the region, and offer a really, really impressive set of opportunities and parameters for businesses coming in, and also allowing existing businesses to expand.
የኢትዮ ዩናይትድ ኪንግደም ሶስተኛው የንግድና ኢንቨስትመንት ፎረም በጋራ ውይይቱን በዚህ መልኩ ካካሄዱ በኋላም በየዘርፉ ከሚመለከታቸው ባለሀብቶች ጋር የተናጠል ውይይት አካሂዷል። ባለሀብቶቹ ለተፈጠረው ሰላም ደስታቸውን ገልጸው በጋራ ለጋራ ብልጽግና እንደሚሰሩ ያረጋገጡ ሲሆን ኢትዮጵያም ለኢንቨስትመንት ምቹ በሆነችባቸው ዘርፎች ወደ ሀገር ቤት በራሳቸው ገብተው በማየት በቀጣይነት ስለሚሰሩባቸው በዝርዝር ተወያይተዋል። ተመልካቾች ዝግጅታችን በዚሁ ያጠናቀናል። ስለተከታተላችሁን ከልብ እናመሰግናለን። መልካም ጊዜ።